Back off right now. You are obstructing justice.
I know my rights, and I am not moving.
That's enough, pal. Let's de-escalate this situation.
So, picture this. It's a bright Saturday afternoon, perfect shopping weather. And across town, you've got two people getting ready for a huge shift in their lives, except only one of them knows what's coming. That's Dr. Lena Hayes, who, after 20 years climbing the ladder, a Harvard PhD in criminology, and more sleepless nights studying police reform than most cops spend on the street, was about to become the first black female police chief of Midtown Precinct 4. She's standing by her kitchen window in Emerald Crest, sipping coffee, feeling that mix of nerves and absolute readiness, right? The mayor, Elena Rios, calls her up, says, "Lena, clean house however you need to. The city is done with the bad press, the settlements. It's time to take out the trash." And when the mayor specifically names Officer Dale Vinson, citing 12 complaints, 8 excessive force incidents, all involving black and brown citizens, all buried by the union, Lena just pulls up his file, looks at that smirk on his face, those dead, cold eyes staring back from the screen, and she whispers to herself, "Your time is officially up, buddy." But Vinson? He's oblivious. He's at the ironclad gym, dripping sweat, demonstrating his compliance techniques to a bunch of terrified rookies. He calls an open-handed strike to the face, his favorite move, an attitude adjustment. He's teaching them how to make it look justified, always escalate, always document it as necessary force, always remember that these demographics only respect strength. I mean, the racist undertones were thick enough to choke on, but Vinson's reputation for protecting his guys kept every rookie mouth shut. Except maybe for Jen Kinsley, a fresh-faced officer who dared to ask about de-escalation protocol, only to be laughed at and told that textbook tactics don't work on certain demographics. Vinson felt untouchable, like he always had. He figured he had one last weekend of freedom before some bleeding heart reformer, some outsider, started on Monday. Little did he know, that outsider was already here. Lena wasn't thinking about Vinson that afternoon. She was focused on her mission, finding outfits that projected authority without sacrificing approachability. That tricky balance women in power constantly deal with, you know? So she drives her sleek black sedan, government plates, but nobody was paying attention to that, to the Galleria Commons, the kind of luxury shopping district where asking for the price is a social faux pas. She picks up a couple of sharp blazers, buys a charcoal suit. She's dealt with the sales associates hovering, judging her expensive taste and her skin color her whole life. That invisible tax on being a successful black woman in a white space. But she whips out the platinum card, and the atmosphere changes instantly. "Of course, ma'am. Excellent choices." It was around 3:45 p.m. when she steps out, juggling her phone and those expensive shopping bags, feeling that rare wave of optimism for the week ahead. That's when Officer Dale Vinson's cruiser pulls into the lot. He's been having a slow, boring shift. He sees her, a black woman, loading luxury bags into an expensive BMW, and every single prejudice he's cultivated over a decade of unchecked power fires off. Wrong demographic, wrong car, wrong everything. His mind immediately starts crafting the narrative, suspicious individual, possible theft, requesting backup for questioning. He was inventing the crime as he walked across the street. Lena's closing her trunk when Vinson charges up, all purposeful, intimidating aggression. "Ma'am, I need to see some identification and check those bags." His hands already on his service weapon, just enough to make her stomach tighten. Lena, the FBI-trained investigator, keeps her hands visible, her voice calm. "Officer, may I ask what this is regarding?" And his answer? Pure contempt. "You can ask, but I'm the one asking questions here. ID and receipts for everything." Now, the racial profiling was so blatant, it was like a punch to the gut, even for someone who'd studied hundreds of cases just like it. As she reaches for her purse, Vinson grabs her wrist, hard. Her credentials spill out, face down on the hot asphalt. Her ID showed her address in Emerald Crest, which only fueled his suspicion. "What kind of work do you do that pays for a house in Emerald Crest?" he sneers. She pauses, recognizing the trap. "I work in law enforcement," she says carefully. He laughs, a sharp, disbelieving sound. "Right. What department?" "Cleaning." That insult. Man, it hit like a physical blow, but Lena held her voice steady, refusing to give him the reaction he wanted. I'm familiar with police procedure, officer. You require reasonable suspicion of a specific crime to detain me. What crime do you suspect? Nobody talked back to Vincent about procedure, especially not someone who looked like her. His face went crimson. Meanwhile, a crowd had gathered, phones up. Liam O'Connell, a college kid, starts live streaming, narrating quietly. Folks, I'm watching a black woman getting harassed for shopping while black. She's got all her receipts, she's being cooperative, and this cop is still treating her like a criminal. Vincent felt the cameras, and instead of de-escalating, he felt trapped. Backing down meant looking weak. He had to re-establish dominance. Ma'am, you're being extremely uncooperative and disrespectful, he shouts, loud enough for the cameras. I'm placing you under arrest for resisting arrest and disorderly conduct. Fabricated charges, everybody knew it. When Officer Jen Kinsley and Sergeant Ramirez arrived as backup, Kinsley immediately spotted the government plates on Lena's car and noticed her expensive clothes scattered on the ground. Sarge, maybe we should just issue a warning, Kinsley suggests, but Vincent whirls on her, threatening her career. That's when Lena Hayes steps forward, her voice cutting through the rising chaos with a quiet authority that silenced the parking lot. Officer Thompson, she says, the chief-to-be speaking for the first time with her full weight, you're making a serious mistake. He snarls back, the racial slur barely veiled. You people always think you're smarter than everyone else. You need to learn some respect. He stepped into her space, fury and embarrassment, and 12 years of unchecked power combining into one catastrophic moment. The crowd holds its breath, the cameras roll, and time slows. Then that sound, the slap, it echoed across the Galleria Commons like a gunshot. Lena's head snapped sideways. For a split second, everything was silent. Then, total chaos. Liam O'Connell's stream exploded. Vincent, flushed with adrenaline and sudden regret, barks. She was resisting arrest. Necessary force. So, Lena Hayes is sitting in holding cell B at Midtown Precinct 4, an FBI-trained criminology expert sharing a bench with two actual detainees. The irony, right? Her cellmate, a tired-looking woman named Maria, recognizes the name Vincent instantly. Honey, every black woman in this city knows Vincent. He's got a reputation for putting hands on people who don't show him enough respect. Lena just listens, internalizing every detail, filing it away, knowing she'd need every bit of testimony very soon. She's touching that burning handprint, knowing that in less than 24 hours, she was supposed to walk into this building as the chief. Meanwhile, back in the fingerprint lab, technician Robert Kim runs Lena's prints, a routine procedure. But the machine doesn't just process them, it screams at him. Classified high-security clearance. Federal law enforcement. Contact liaison immediately. Kim's hands are shaking as he calls Captain Rodriguez. When Rodriguez bursts into the lab, reads the screen, and then calls Desk Sergeant Ramirez, asking for the name of Vincent's arrestee. Ramirez says, Dr. Lena Hayes, lives in Emerald Crest, says she works in law enforcement. Rodriguez's blood turns to ice. He knew that name. Every captain in the state knew that name after the mayor's announcement last week. Seconds later, Mayor Rios's call comes through, her voice like a sheet of pure metal. Captain Rodriguez, I want you to tell me you don't have Dr. Lena Hayes in lockup right now. Let me be very clear. Dr. Hayes is the new police chief. If one of your officers has laid a hand on her, we have a crisis that goes beyond anything this department has ever faced. The line goes dead. Rodriguez runs to the holding cells like the building's on fire. He finds Lena sitting calmly, looking like she's waiting for a delayed flight, not sitting in a jail cell. When he sees the composure, the authority radiating off her even in handcuffs, he instinctively straightens. Dr. Hayes, he whispers, fumbling with the keys. I am so incredibly sorry. We had no idea. And then Lena, with the handprint glowing red under the fluorescent light, delivers the 5 words that crushed his world. I am your new police chief. He leads her to his office, his mind racing through the catastrophe. Down the hall, Officer Jen Kinsley sees the captain escorting the arrestee, Googles the name, and watches her own knees go weak. Harvard Ph.D. in criminology. 20 years in the FBI's Civil Rights Division. Personally recommended by the Attorney General. She slapped the new chief, the woman hired specifically to dismantle the system that created him. In Rodriguez's office, Lena sits across the desk, refusing coffee, refusing comfort. She looks at the captain, her eyes burning. Captain, Vincent's actions don't just not represent this department's values. They represent exactly what this department has been tolerating for years. She demands his immediate suspension, a full witness interview, and Vincent's entire personnel file. Rodriguez, realizing his own career was hanging by a thread, just says, "Yes, ma'am. Absolutely." 5 minutes later, Vincent strolls into the captain's office, smirking, expecting a commendation for putting that uppity woman in her place. He stops dead. Lena Hayes is sitting behind Rodriguez's desk. "You wanted to see me, Cap? I hope this is about that report. I made sure to document everything properly." He stops mid-sentence. His face drains of color. His mouth opens and closes like a fish out of water. "I what? She's supposed to be in lockup. Did someone post her bail?" Lena stands, her movements controlled, deliberate. "Officer Vincent, I'm your new police chief." The words were a physical blow. He stumbles, collapsing into the chair. That's impossible. The chief is supposed to be some guy from the feds." "I am from the feds, officer," she replies calmly. 20 years with the FBI's Civil Rights Division, specializing in police misconduct and systemic reform. I was personally selected by the mayor to clean up departments exactly like this one." Vincent babbles about defending himself, about that neighborhood having problems, but Lena cuts through his lies like a sharp blade. Rodriguez slides a tablet across the desk. On the screen, the security footage, multiple angles, crystal clear audio, plays. Vincent watches his own career die in real time, hearing his own racist insults and seeing the unprovoked, brutal force he used. Then Lena opens his personnel file, 12 years of buried sins spilling across the desk. She reads out the names. Mrs. Angela Davis, slapped during a traffic stop.